I definitely will hold them against them. Because who you marry is a political statement. You're telling the world the culture that you love, because you not only marry that woman, you marry into her family, you marry into her community, you marry into her culture. And so for a Black man to say, I can't find the type of woman I'm looking for, that's an excuse, right? We're the largest race family on the planet Earth. We're at least 2 billion, probably closer to 3, where you include all the Africans who are trying to be something other than African. That means the Black woman is the largest human population on the face of the earth. There's Black women everywhere. No group has more members than the sisterhood. So if you can't find what you're looking for in North America, go to South America. If you can't find it there, go to the Caribbean, go to Canada. Canada ain't nothing but a 2-3 hour flight. You can't find it there. You can take a 4-hour flight to the UK, where I was a few weeks ago. You can go to Asia. You can go to the continent. You can go to Australia, the South Pacific. There's Black women everywhere. So if you don't like the type that you find in your community, go to another African community and find her. But there's too many Black women in the world for a Black man to just abdicate from the entire community, from the race itself, and go get a white woman, go get an Arab, go get an East Indian, a Chinese woman. It's not acceptable, because women tend not to marry down in social status. Women tend to marry up in social structure, especially non-African women. Men don't live as long as women. On average, women will live longer. So when you die, i.e. Kobe Bryant, okay, a billionaire, you left all that money to a Latino woman who's not even thinking about making a donation to improve the community in Black Philadelphia. So for me, interracial dating is a form of financial betrayal and economic, what's the word I'm looking for? Financial betrayal and economic treachery against your own people, because you're taking from us who don't have as much as we need, and you're giving to people who have already stolen enough. You're marrying a Korean woman. Don't the Koreans get enough of our money with the $30 billion hair care establishment?
Yeah,
you're marrying a white woman. Haven't white people already robbed us enough? You know, you can't separate politics from romance.
But you don't think the Latino community is a part of our community?
It depends if they identify. For me, you have to be biologically African and psychologically African. So if I look at our Dominicans, our Puerto Ricans, our Cubans, the question would be, do you identify as a member of the African race? And if they do, I regard them no different as I regard any one of you. But if they don't, then I would treat them as if they were not an African, because you have to identify. You have to be proud of. You must be unapologetic in your membership in the African race for me to consider you an African. And that goes for even us here. You have Black people in America who will tell you they're not Black, they're not African. So if that is the case, you don't identify with your race, even though you are obviously an African, I will not treat you as one. That goes for Clarence Thomas, Kamala Harris, Condoleezza Rice, Candace Owens, any Negro who is working against the best interests of the community or does not identify with that community, I will treat them like a complete stranger.
So I have a question. Unity, but self-identity.
Absolutely. You must have the biology and you must have the identity.
So quick question. I want to kind of take a step back. You were saying women are naturally hypergamous. I had seen a number of videos where, and it was coming from Black men. And I don't know. I want to get your take on this. I've heard many of interviews. I've heard many of people pull out statistics saying women are naturally hypergamous. They marry up. But I've also heard people sit there and say, except Black women. So I want to know if when you hear something like that, do you feel that that's, for lack of better words, an excuse? Because it's not that our women are not marrying up; they're marrying down. It's more so that they're just in the wrong pool of men, or like what do you feel about that statement?
Well, number one, Black women are the only women in America who out-educate and out-earn their mates.
Their men, yeah.
Systemically. But it was engineered to do that. After they assassinated Dr. King, April 4th, 1968, the 1970s, they decided to reorganize the entire Black community to prevent any more serious social protests. And one of the first things they did was handicap the Black man's ability to finance his own institutions and organizations. So they deindustrialized the inner city in the 1970s. That's when they took out all the factory jobs from the community. And then they took out all the industrial building trade programs from the high school. So not only can you not get a job using your hands, we're going to make sure you don't learn the skills so you can get a job to use your hands. So that was the 70s. And then in the 80s, we get the crack cocaine area. They dropped the crack off after they took all the jobs out. So if you don't have no job and now you got this crack, you're either going to smoke it or you're going to try to sell it. That takes us to the 90s, which is the Bill Clinton crime bill, okay, in which mass incarcerated Black men, intensified single parenthood, intensified teenage pregnancy, and it gave birth to the atmosphere that allowed gangster rap to be created. Because if there's never a war against Black men, you don't get gangster rap. You get hip hop, but gangster rap never evolves from hip hop because men would have been involved in the lives of our sons and we would have never allowed them to create an art form as despicable and genocidal as gangster rap. And then in the year 2000, you get George W. Bush and he drops off the faith-based initiative, which I think was a very brilliant Machiavellian move for the white power structure, because what he did is he said, I'm going to neutralize Black America's most relevant and active institution, and that's the Black church. I'm going to fund them to stay out of the liberation struggle. And ever since the Black church has been qualifying for grants from the Black community, you haven't seen them in the front line of any of the major struggles that we have as a people. They don't fight for better schools. They don't fight against police genocide. They don't fight against mass incarceration. They don't fight against economic apartheid, miseducation, mass incarceration, gentrification, police genocide, and access to wealth. They don't fight against any of that. And then Barack Obama came in the 2010s and he took all of the rights that Black people accumulated over the past 30, 40, 50 years, and he gave them to all other minority groups and stripped them from us. And we sat still for 8 years and celebrated while this man stripped us of all the civil rights gains of our
So really quickly, I want to ask you about that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to ask you about that because some people are of the mindset that Barack did that because he didn't want to come in. Actually, one of our previous guests said this. Barack did that the way that he did specifically so they couldn't sit there and say, oh, as soon as he walked in, he tried to favor, so-called African Americans. So I wanted to know, what do you feel about his term, one, and what do you feel about, because he even said it, he tried to do a number of things for the African American community and Congress continued to block it. How do you feel about that?
That's the same thing Ari Spears was saying when he was on here as well, that he did more than people know, but he just got blocked from doing so.
Well, I would need Ari Spears or someone else to give me specifically what did Barack Obama try to change that was relevant for Black America that Congress blocked. I followed Obama's presidency closely, and I can't name one major attempt that was done during his presidency. See, I don't fault Barack Obama for not making the change. I fault Barack Obama for not speaking truthfully about the change that was needed and not attempting to make the change. If you try and fail, I can still respect you, but to not do anything at all, I cannot respect you. What did he do for the schools? Systemically, absolutely nothing. What did he do for mass incarceration? Systemically, nothing. But what Black people will point to is they will look at the commutations of a couple thousand sentences that Barack Obama signed off on during his last days of office. But I want to be clear about something. Right. Commuting the sentences of a couple of offenders, and these were not just Black people, this was Americans, period. So it wasn't for us, it was for America. You see, and we have to be careful not to fall into that trap, because when Barack Obama or any president does something just for Native Americans, that's okay. When they do something just for homosexuals, that's okay. When they do it just for immigrants, it's okay. But when it comes to Black people, they can't just do it for us. They have to do it for everybody. Well, where was that energy with the homosexuals? Where was that energy with the Ukrainians? Where was that energy with the Native Americans? If you notice, every group has gotten legislation under Joe Biden except Black people. Yeah, almost every group has gotten legislation under Barack Obama except Black people. Even under Donald Trump, many groups got legislation. He gave us the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative. He signed into law an executive order to look out for the education, and economics of the Hispanic people. No such thing was done for blacks. So we have to be careful not to defend the very system that is oppressing us. Barack Obama didn't do nothing for black people because Barack Obama doesn't care about black people. Barack Obama was paid for by the white power structure, and that's who agenda he pushed. We don't need another black president. I don't want to see another black president because it's going to put black people to sleep. We are not politically mature enough to understand that the color in office does not represent the power that controls that office.
So you just mentioned recently.
Go ahead.
You mentioned recently that this most recent election was the most irrelevant election for Black people because there was nothing on the table for us whatsoever. Do you think that it is in Black people's interest as a community to vote at all?
If we're going to organize the vote, good sister, if 50 million of us came together, or even if you look at it on a state-by-state basis, if a sizable majority of Black people in any major city or any county or any region or the entire country came together and said, listen, y'all, for this election, we're voting as a community. We're not voting as teachers. We're not voting as Masons. We're not voting as Christians. We're voting as Black people. What is best for Black people? We're going to put together our own platform. We're going to meet with the candidates. We're going to fund the candidates that we feel can best represent our interests. And we're going to see where the chips fall. Mm-hmm. If we were to do that, there would be a grand restructuring of the political process because Black people have not done that since the civil rights era. We're the only people who do not vote as a community. We vote as Democrats and Republicans. So we are participating in a political dichotomy that speaks to the issues of white people. Democrat and Republican is a white dichotomy that has nothing to do with Black folks. But because we suffer from the illusion of inclusion, we go along with the conversation between white people that has nothing to do with Black folks. And as long as you're going to vote for an army that does not fight for you, why would they ever take you seriously? Voting can matter if we do it as a community. As long as we do it as individuals, it'll never benefit us.